Hey guys, welcome. Today's beginner practice is going to focus on back bends, and we'll really work it from this angle of strengthening through the shoulders on the back side of the body, and also really using the core to help support the low back as we work through that range of motion. But before we do that, we're going to start one of my favorite supported back bends just to create some space. So I have a firm rolled up blanket. You can do this with a towel, whatever you have. Sometimes just even a firm pillow can be nice to do this. Whatever works for a little bit of support. You can grab that if you don't already have it. Come on back. And then you're just going to snuggle your lower back up against the edge of whatever you have and come to lie down so that your hips are on the ground, right? Your butt, your hips are on the ground. And then the blanket or the towel just lays right along your spine. For your feet, your legs, go ahead, bend your knees. Take your feet towards the outer edges of your mat and just let your knees rest together. And so feet wide, knees together. This is constructive rest pose and a really nice way to broaden the lower back as we create some space in the shoulders here. And then with your arms, it's really going to depend on range of motion in shoulders. They might come longer down by your sides. They might come more up like a cactus shape. But the key here is that you want your forearms and your hands down to the mat, right? So if you're in this cactus, but your arms are floating up off the ground, take them a little lower. So you're looking for that sweet spot where there's some space, but they're supported. And the idea with this is then that the front of the shoulders, the pecs are not having to work to hold you there, but they can actually soften and relax back. All right, so once you find all that, you can close your eyes or just let your gaze get soft. And before we do the work of starting to strengthen and engage and support the back bends, just let the upper body soften. Let your head rest and the shoulders drop back. And then just start to notice what your breath is doing. So often we're just breathing into the upper portion of the chest. When we're not paying attention, it's usually where it rests. And so just slowly, right, without hurry, without forcing it, let's let the breath start to move down to your belly, to the sides of your body, just starting to fill up more of your torso. And as you do that, you can start to find a breath that feels even with your inhale and your exhale. And so just about the same length on both sides of the breath. And as we work through the practice today, I really invite you to listen to your breath as your guide. It can be a really good clue if it feels like we're pushing too far in a pose, if the breath might get a little shorter or shallow. Everyone has a really different range of motion in back bends. And some of this, sure, is the flexibility of our muscles. It can also a lot be based on the structure of your bones, right? Within the low back, especially within the spine, and the shape of those vertebrae. And so some are going to have lots of range of motion, some of us a little less. Right? Listen to your body, listen to your breath. There's no need to push. When we work it more from strengthening, we're going to find that space across the chest and shoulders that can be so beneficial. Right? Because so much of what we do in the day is this forward action with our shoulders, right? Sitting at a desk or hunched forward. That opening the spine in this other direction can be really beneficial. So just take a few more breaths here. Maybe already it's starting to feel nice as you open up the front of the chest, even a little more space through the belly. And then you can just roll to your side. And slowly use your hands, press yourself back up. And just take whatever you've got, your blanket or your towel roll, set it off to the side. And we're going to come to tabletop position, so hands and knees. And once you get there, you just want to take a moment to really stack and align things so that your shoulders are right over your wrists, your hips are over your knees, and then you're going to fan out through your fingers so they're nice and wide, lots of space. And then look to see that the creases of your wrist feel like they're lining up with the front of your mat. That might also look like your index fingers pointing straight forward. And that's just going to be a nice way to align the wrists for some more support. And then really press down from your shoulders into your hands. It feels like you're pressing your mat away. And at the same time, grip with your fingertips. So we've got a lot of support, shoulders all the way down into fingers. And then from here, we're going to move through some range of motion through the spine. So as you inhale, arch your back like you're dropping your belly down towards the mat. Take your gaze straight forward. And then exhale again, press down into your hands, round through your back, draw your chin to your chest or towards your chest. All right, inhale, arch your back, look forward. And then exhale, round, cat and cow pose. And just start to link it with your breath. Another great way just to bring attention to your breath. Match it with the movement of your body. And so we're creating this back bending, forward bending action in the spine, but also just starting to create some mobility through the whole spine itself. Good. Just take a couple more like that. You might notice one side feels easier or better or more effective than the other. You might start to notice the spots that feel a little sticky. Good. And then after you finish up that next round, so after the next rounded back, come back to what feels like that place at the middle, right? So naturally our low back does have a little curve. That's the way the spine is shaped, right? So it's not this big arch in the back and it's not a big round, but it feels like right in between where there's just a little bit of natural curve to the low back. Okay, and then from here, tone through your low belly. So often I feel like that feels like zippering up the zipper on your on your pants. That's going to support the low back. Keep that. Walk your hands forward. Bring your forehead to or towards your mat. So if you have a block, or you can even use the end of your towel again, sometimes it feels like getting the forehead to the mat is really far, and you could rest it on a block or the edge of that towel. If your forehead comfortably reaches the mat, great. Right. Stay active through your hands, press down. Stay toned through your low belly. And then let the center of your chest soften towards the mat, right? With your arms strong and supportive. Good. Take a couple breaths, just notice where you feel the sensation. Right. And if your breath can still remain even and steady, right? Again, if it feels like it's become harder to breathe, back out a little bit. It's that sweet spot of, I said, it's helping and supporting the body and not pushing too far. When we do that, the body tends to contract. It's counterproductive. Find that place that's in between for you. And then walk your hands back again, tabletop pose. And so wrists right under shoulders, strong through your hands. And then just take a couple more rounds of that cat-cow. So inhale, arch back, look straight forward. And then exhale, chin towards chest, round. And you can really press your hands into your mat. It's like dome up through the shoulders. Inhale, cow pose, arch your back, look forward. And then exhale, cat. Good. And then this time, come forward, cow pose with that arched back, right? So this is our back bended position. Walk your hands forward just about a palm print. So they're a little bit out in front of your shoulders. And then if they're not already, tuck your toes under, press into your hands and lift your hips up and back, down dog. So in down dog, we really do want to keep a little bit of that arch in the back. And so sometimes if the low back or the hamstrings are a little tighter, the back wants to round here. So a nice thing that you can do is just keep a little bend in your knees. Right? That often gives you a little bit more space in the low back. If, with your legs straight, you can find that natural curve to the low back, right? It doesn't feel rounded. Stay there. Right? Keep that strength to your hands like you just had in tabletop. And so you're pressing down from shoulders to hands and gripping with your fingertips. Let's take another full breath in. Full breath out. Let your head get heavy. And you're just going to walk your feet towards your hands. You might get all the way to the front of the mat. You might find a stopping point kind of in between, and that's fine. You can walk your hands back. Bring your hands to your hips. And with your inhale, come all the way up. And if you're not already at the front of your mat, just take a step forward, go there. And you start with your feet about hip width distance apart. Right? I usually think about this like you could fit two fists in between. Sometimes we think hip width gets pretty wide. I just want to meet it in the middle. Right? And then bring your hands to your hips. Really root down, like you could press your hips down into your feet so that your legs are strong and engaged. And then with your hands on your hips, do that same thing we just did in tabletop, right? So you're going to find that big curve and arch in your back, and then roll like you're lengthening your tailbone down towards the ground. Right? Rock the pelvis forward and then back, lengthen the tailbone down. Right? So here, as we come forward again, that's that big back bending position. Once you get there, hold. Right? Then feel like you're lifting up that zipper on your pants and lengthening your tailbone down. And just notice what that does for the strength of the low belly. And did it give you a little bit more space in the low back? Right, so we can often in our back bends, right, counter and create a little space so that we're not just kind of dumping all the weight into the low back. It feels a little bit more supportive. Okay, keep that. Inhale, reach both arms up. And then exhale, twist open. So bring your right arm back, left arm forward. Twists are a really nice way to prepare for back bends. Right, keep pressing down into your feet. Lengthen up through the top of your head. And then squeeze your shoulder blades in towards your spine. Good. Come back to center. Inhale, reach both arms up. Exhale, twist, left arm back, right arm forward. Right, stay lifted through your belly. Right, and then think inner borders of the shoulder blades squeeze in as you reach out through your fingertips. Right, both arms back to center. Inhale, reach up. And then exhale, cactus your arms. So you're going to bring your elbows right in line with your shoulders. Turn your palms forward. Spread your fingertips wide. Okay, keep pressing down into your feet. And then again, do that little lift, zipper of your low belly. And think of lengthening your tailbone down towards the ground. Okay, then squeeze the inner borders of your shoulder blades in towards your spine. Right, so it's like you're taking your shoulders, wrapping them in. That's going to really strengthen on the back to help broaden across the front. Right, nice little baby back bend here. Okay, next inhale, reach both arms up. And then as you exhale, hinge forward at your hips so your spine stays long, and then fold all the way forward. You might even bend your knees a little bit there. Okay, from here, step your left foot back, and then bring your left knee down to the mat. You can always pad your knee, slide that towel or blanket underneath, or even fold your mat over. And then bring your hands up to your right thigh. So things feel a little wobbly here. Just take your right foot out to the right a little, kind of widens the wheelbase. All right, from here, we're going to strengthen the foundation first. Always good to have a solid foundation. So I feel like you could squeeze your inner thighs towards center, like scissor them in so they feel steady to the midline. All right, then find that little zipper of the low belly, draw up and in as you lengthen your tailbone. All right, lengthen up through your spine and then squeeze your shoulder blades back. Okay, so you might be like, oof, this feels good. I got lots of sensation. Sometimes you really get it in the front of the left hip as well. Or keep that support, but you might let the hips come forward just a little bit. It might just be an inch or two. Or you might let the hips come forward a little bit more, right? Again, we're all different with range of motion. Sometimes it feels like we want to lead with the right hip forward. So draw from the crease of the right hip, draw back. Right, and just feel what your low back is doing. Right, we get some back bend here, opens up the front of the hip. Okay, you can keep your hands to your right leg if that feels more supportive, or reach both arms up overhead. Turn your palms to face towards one another and lift up through your chest. Take a full breath in. And then with your exhale, bring your hands down to your mat. Lift your back knee. Take a big step forward front of your mat. And then just step back. So right leg back. Bring your right knee down. And pad the knee if that feels better. And then bring your your hands to your left thigh. Okay, again, take a wider stance if that feels more stable. And then squeeze. Sometimes it feels like you could traction your front heel and your back knee into center. Right, draw the crease of the left hip back. That one's going to want to tend to lead forward. And then find that little zipper of your low belly up and in as you lengthen your tailbone down. Right, keep that so there's a lot of support through the pelvis and the low back and the lower core. And maybe the hips come forward just a little bit. Maybe a little more. Right? Again, stop at the place that feels still strong and steady, but effective. Keep your hands to your thigh. That might feel like a good place to let them rest, find a little bit more support, or reach your arms up overhead. Wherever you are, get tall through your spine. Right? Feel the shoulder blades start to squeeze back. Take another breath in. And then with your exhale, bring both hands down to your mat. This time, lift your back knee, but step back to high plank, so top of a push-up position. Right, so you can do this with knees lifted, one long straight line from hips to shoulders, or you can bring your knees down for a little bit more support. Sometimes that's really nice. Think about those same hands we had in tabletop with fingers spread wide and fingertips rooting. Okay, take another full breath in, whether you're in high plank here or knees down. And then with your exhale, lead with knees down. Point your elbows straight back, lower all the way down to your belly. And then untuck your toes so you press the tops of your feet down. Walk your hands back a little bit so they're by your lower ribs. And point your elbows straight back. Okay, squeeze your shoulder blades in towards your spine. And then also pull the bottom tips of your shoulder blades towards your waist. Right, so that might feel like it's drawing your shoulders, tops of your shoulders away from your ears. Okay, with your inhale, lift up through your head, chest, and shoulders, cobra pose. And you can just start with a little cobra pose here. You might always stay in a little cobra pose depending on the range of motion of your back. Right, stay strong through the back body. Tone through your lower belly. And lengthen. It's not going to be a big move, right? Sometimes almost energetic. Lengthen your tailbone back towards your heels. Good. Lower all the way down. You can bring your chin or your forehead to your mat. Take a breath. And we'll do one more like that. Right, really press down through the tops of your feet so your legs are strong and supportive. Then with your inhale, lift up. And you might stay pretty low. You might start to come up a little bit higher, find the right place for you. But keep the back of your neck long, right? So we're not just throwing the head back, but the back of the neck stays in one long line with the spine. Good. Point elbow straight back, strengthen backs of shoulders. And then exhale, lower all the way down. Tuck your toes under. Come to tabletop. And then all the way back, downward facing dog. Take a full breath in. Full breath out. And then just like we did before, walk your hands forward. Walk your feet forward to your hands. Right, and so wherever that stopping point is, sometimes depends on your hamstrings. When you get there, bring hands to hips. Really press into your feet so your legs are strong, and inhale, come all the way up. And exhale, bring your hands together at your heart. If you're not at the front of your mat, just take a step forward, go there. Okay, press down from hips to feet. Zip up through your low belly. Inhale, reach both arms up. Exhale, cactus your arms. All right, so we'll work those same actions. Squeeze the inner borders of the shoulder blade in towards the spine. And just feel what that does for the front of the chest. Right, when we work it from there, we really strengthen the back body. And in the long run, it helps to keep this open instead of just feeling like we're pressing the shoulders back. And then like we just did, draw the bottom tips of your shoulder blades down towards your waist so that you create more space along your neck. Right, with that lift of your belly, then maybe from the center of your chest, start to lift up and take your gaze slightly up. Again, we're not throwing the head back. It often feels like we're really back bending if we just lead from the head. But think about it like one continuous curve of your spine. It's just a lean back and lift of the chest. And then inhale, reach both arms up. Exhale, hinge and fold forward. From here, right, you might bend your knees, bring your hands down, step back again to high plank. Hips in line with shoulders, knees up or knees down. Root through your hands, take a breath in, and then with your exhale, bring knees down, point your elbows straight back, lower all the way down. And then again, untuck your toes. This time, come up onto your forearms. This is Sphinx pose. And so you can start with elbows right under shoulders. For some of us, that's a great place. If that feels like a lot of back bend, right, because we're getting up a little higher there, you can walk your elbows forward, and that might decrease the amount of back bend or the amount of sensation. So play a little, find what's right for you. And start by strengthening your legs. Press the tops of your feet down. So strongly, you might even feel the kneecaps start to lift a little bit. And then zip up through your low belly. Feel that support. It might even lift a little bit up off the mat. And lengthen your tailbone back towards your heels. Then really press down into your forearms and traction your elbows back. So it's that action of movement without letting them move, like you would drag your elbows back towards your hips, but they don't actually go anywhere. And then draw shoulder blades together on your back and bottom tips of your shoulder blades down towards your waist. Right, so that the shoulders hopefully are starting to feel strong and engaged. Like there's a lot of support to open the front of the chest, and we begin to strengthen all those muscles that hold the shoulder blades back and down. So take another breath in. And then with your exhale, lower all the way down. And just come all the way down for a moment. Let your hips wiggle a little bit side to side. Sometimes it's nice to just give them a little bit of a break in between back bends. And then from here, bring your hands by your ribs. Strong through your hands, press to tabletop. And then stretch all the way up and back, downward facing dog. Right, take a peek at your hands. Are your fingers fanned out, spread wide? Are your index fingers pointing forward? And as you press down into your hands, are you gripping your fingertips to the mat? Right, let your head get heavy. Sometimes I'm just looking in that direction, but you can let head hang in between your arms. Okay, with strong legs, inhale. Right leg reaches up and back, keep it straight and strong. Doesn't have to lift high. And then as you exhale, draw your knee in towards your chest and step your foot in between your hands. You might even grab your ankle and help it along. You're going to take your right foot out just a couple inches wider. And then this time with your inhale, come all the way up, crescent lunge. Reach your arms up overhead. right? If that feels like a lot on the shoulders, start with hands to hips. Okay, like we just did with the knee down. And I should say, you can always come back to knee down. That's a great first variation. I just love that one for the front of the hip. But we're going to strengthen the inner leg, so scissor them into center. Oops, squeeze in. And then from the crease of the right hip, start to draw back. Right, so there's already some back bend happening here. Lift up through your lower belly and lengthen your tailbone down. Okay, from here, bring your arms out wide. Turn your thumbs down. And then bend your elbows, bring your fists together, right? So you can make fists, press your knuckles together behind your back. Okay, and then you can really press the knuckles together. Sometimes that alone helps to draw the shoulder blades back, right? So same actions we've been doing, squeeze in, and then draw bottom tips of your shoulder blades down. Sometimes it takes a little while to get that muscle action coordinated in the body. And then really press down into your feet. Right, instead of just leaning back, think center of your chest up as the hips stay rooted, and keep shoulder blades strong on your back. Check in with your breath. Good. Release. Inhale, both arms up. And then exhale, both hands down to your mat. Step back, downward facing dog. Take a breath. Strong through hands. Inhale, left leg up, straight and strong. And then exhale, draw your knee in towards your chest. Step your foot all the way between your hands, right? Maybe grab your ankle, help it along. And so you want your feet wide enough side to side that it's more like you're standing on railroad tracks than on a tightrope. It's going to be way more stable. And you're up on the ball of your back foot. Inhale, come all the way up, crescent lunge. Good, right, settle down into your front knee. Right, keep your knee stacked over your ankle or even behind a little bit. We just don't want it to come forward. Okay, then strengthen your legs into center, hug in. Make your back leg strong as you press into the ball of your back foot. And then zip up through your lower belly for support. Okay, bring your arms out wide. Turn your thumbs down. It's just going to rotate your shoulders in. And then bring your hands behind you and press into your knuckles. So you make fists and then just press your knuckles into one another. Okay, squeeze shoulder blades back. All right, you can even think about drawing elbows back. I'll give you a little more space. Stay lifted through the low belly, and then lift your chest up as your shoulders squeeze back and down. Chest up, shoulders back and down. Again, watch where your head is. You're throwing your head back, or is it just a slight tilt of the chin so that it follows the curve of your spine? Legs are working hard too. Strong legs support the back really well also. Okay, inhale, reach both arms up. Exhale, both hands down to your mat. And then one more time, step back, plank. Knees up or knees down, take a breath in. And just lead with your knees here, let those come down for support. Point your elbows straight back to lower all the way down. Okay, this time, do the same, untuck your toes, but stretch your arms long back by your sides. Turn your palms down. Right, as you exhale, lift and tone your belly. Feel what that does for your low back. And then with your inhale, lift up through your head, chest, and arms, right? So your hands and your arms will float up off the mat. Reach your fingertips back towards your feet. That might help you feel that action of drawing the bottom tips of your shoulder blades down towards your waist. And then squeeze inner borders of your shoulder blades in. Full breath in. And then exhale, lower down. Turn your head to one side. You can rest on your ear. Take a breath. And then we'll do one more. right? And we'll have the option to stay just like we did our add-on. So take a breath out, and as you do that, lift up through your lower belly. Strength and support for your low back. And then inhale, lift up through head, chest, arms. Right, reach with fingertips, squeeze shoulder blades in. I love this variation because we really get the strength of the back. Sometimes with a cobra, our tendency is to push higher. Here we're really supported. And so you can stay like this or float your legs up off the mat as well. Might give you a little bit more back bend. So do what feels right for you. Keep legs down for a little more support or lift if it feels good. Take one more breath in. Good. And then exhale, lower all the way down. Turn your head to the other side. Take a breath. You can even wiggle out again a little bit through your hips. And then bring your hands by your ribs. This time, press to tabletop. Good. So you're going to keep your hips stacked over your knees, but walk your hands forward a few inches so there's a little bit more of an angle from your shoulders to your wrists. Okay, and then you're going to take your left toes and just bring them off the side of your mat like you're creating a little kickstand. I like to tuck the toes under, but if foot flat is comfortable, do what works for you. Right, and then you're going to roll onto your left hand and your left knee and stretch your right leg long so that your knee and your foot are in one long line. Right? So it's really hand, knee, foot, one line. Okay, really get strong through your hand like we've been doing for support. Lift up through your belly. And then float your right leg up off the ground. Right? You might ask for a little bit more balance. Right, and then bend your knee. And with your right hand, see if you can reach back to or towards your right foot. So you might just reach in that direction and you'll notice that that's going to open the chest, or your hand and foot might connect. Right, keep the strong support through your belly. Draw shoulder blades in and roll your right ribs up. Check in with your breath. Good. Next, inhale, release. And then exhale, both hands down to the mat. Take a round of that cat-cow in between. So inhale, arch your back, look forward. Exhale, round. And then come back to center. Okay, switch sides. So right toes off the side of your mat. Walk your right hand forward a couple inches and then roll right hand, right knee, left leg long. Right, so line up in general, hand, knee, foot, and then lift your back leg. Right, take a moment to find the balance here. Right, that lower belly strength can also be really helpful for balance. And then bend your knee, and you might just reach, right? Sometimes hand and foot don't connect, but as you reach back, you can let your chest lift. If hand and foot connect, great. If they don't, great. Stay supported through the belly. Draw your shoulder blades back. Okay, so the top one's naturally going to be coming in. Can you draw the bottom shoulder blade in as well? And then roll your ribs up, roll your chest up. Good. Inhale, slowly release. Exhale, both hands down to the mat. One more time, take one round of that cat-cow. And then go ahead, sit back towards your heels, come all the way down onto your back. Right, once you get there, bend your knees and walk your heels in towards your sitting bone, as close as they want to go. And then you can think about where your sitting bones are and you want to line those up with your heels. Another way to think about that is feet hip width distance apart, just like we did standing before. Okay, and then bend your elbows so that your palms turn and face in towards one another. Right, press into the backs of your arms, lift your chest just a little bit, and squeeze your shoulder blades in. That same action we've been doing. And then set your chest back down. It might feel a little bit different. Okay, take a full breath out, lift and tone through your belly. And then as you inhale, press into your heels, lift your hips up, bridge pose. And you might just lift a couple of inches. That's what might feel good. You might lift a little bit higher. Find your stopping point. Okay, then really press down into your heels. And traction, again, like that action, like you could pull the heels towards your shoulders, but don't let them move. If it feels like your knees want to splay out towards the sides, press to the inner edges of your feet. And then lift your chest towards your chin, but keep pressing the back of your head down, right? So it's like your chin's playing hard to get. And here you might even be able to snuggle your shoulder blades in just a little bit more. Take a breath in. And then exhale, lower all the way down. You can just keep your hands like that. We're going to take one more round. Just take one breath. Good. Tone your low belly. Press into your heels. Inhale, lift. Right. Where's the right height for you? Right. Press down through heels. Traction towards your shoulders. And press a little bit more to the inner edges of your feet, big toe side. Right. And then you can stay like this with your hands or interlace your hands under your back and really snuggle your shoulder blades in as you reach your knuckles towards your heels. Lift your chest towards your chin. Lots of strong work. Press the back of your head down. Inhale. Good. Exhale, lower all the way down. And then just like we did at the beginning, take your feet out a little wider. Let your knees rest together. Constructive rest pose. This is a great one after back bends, just to let the low back settle. So take a couple of breaths. Good. And then walk your feet back in so they're hip width apart. Take your right ankle, cross it on your left knee so you're in that figure four position. And just a little hip opening and twist will do to end and kind of cool down from the practice. Flex through your right foot. And then you might keep your left foot down. Like for a lot of us, this is a great amount of hip opening. Or you can bring your left thigh in and interlace your hands behind the thigh. Right, really press into the pinky edge of your right foot. You might then feel a little bit more activation through the outer hip. And just let your thigh, if it's lifted, draw in until your back gets a little bit of rounding. We'll just counter the back bends that we've done. Take 2 full breaths. Maybe the breath starts to slow down. Back bends by nature can be energizing, not always, but can be. When we're uplifting, and we just start to cool it down. Hip openers tend to do that. Tend, right? That means not always. Okay, left foot down to your mat. Bring your right knee in, and then straighten your left leg long on your mat. Take a breath in, and then with your exhale twist, bring your right knee over to the left. Right, your knee may or may not come to the ground, that's fine. Bring your right arm out to the side. You could always set a block or something underneath it if you want some support. But favor the right shoulder staying on the mat. Sometimes the right knee will get there if we lift the shoulder. Stay anchored through the shoulder. And then just take a couple breaths in the twist. With your inhale, unwind. Bend both knees. And then we'll switch sides. We'll take the figure four, left ankle, right knee. Flex your left foot. And then you either stay here with your right foot down, like, yep, plenty of hip stretch, I'm good. Or bring your right thigh in, take your hands behind the thigh. All right, press a little more through the pinky edge, this outer edge of your left foot, like you're pressing it into your right thigh. And just see if that does anything for the outer left hip. It might even draw the knee a little bit away from you, just so there's some strength and support within the stretch. Let the back of your head and your shoulders rest back. And then bring your right foot back down. Hug your left knee into your chest. And then straighten your right leg on your mat. Take a breath in. And then exhale, twist. Bring your left knee over towards the right. It might come halfway. It might come to your mat. But again, favor keeping your left shoulder down more so than getting your left knee to the mat. You can bring your left arm out wide to the side, like a T shape or a goalpost shape. And just take a couple breaths on this side. And with your next inhale, come back to center. Bring both knees in, give them a little squeeze. And then with your exhale, we're going to settle into Shavasana, so final resting pose for a few moments. For some people, or some days, that constructive rest pose that we were doing before is a really nice variation for Shavasana. You could also grab your towel or your blanket and place it under your knees. That can often be really supportive of your lower back as well. Right, so just take a moment, find whatever variation works. You can rest your hands on your belly. You can let them come out wide from your sides. But as you settle in, go ahead, turn your palms up. And then just one more time, snuggle your shoulder blades in and under your body. Right, so we're setting up that open space of the chest that we really created. But then let everything rest. And just check in with your low back. Right? If this action of backbending is newer, right? Sometimes the low back can feel a little bit tender after. You just want to make sure it's not painful. Right? Think about it like tender or sore, just like you've worked a muscle that needed a little attention. Right? But we do it in a way that feels safe and supported, right? Strong through the belly, long through the low back, strong through the back body. The idea is to set up a really supported way to create that range of motion instead of trying to force it. And just listen to how your body feels after practice, even into the next day. So you're doing this in a way that's progressive and safe for your body. I'm going to take a few more breaths here. And then with your next inhale, let's reach your arms up overhead. Take a full body stretch. And then as you exhale, draw your knees in towards your chest. Roll to your side. And then use your hands, press all the way back up to sitting. Once you get there, take a comfortable cross-legged seat. Bring your hands together at your heart. And then just take a moment to notice how your upper body feels. Is there any more space in chest and shoulders? Maybe sometimes it takes a little time and some repetition of practice. Good. Take a full breath in, lift your heart to your hands. And then as you exhale, drop your chin towards your chest. Thanks so much for taking the time for yourself and for sharing the practice. Namaste.